also very excited to announce that Suzanne will be coming back to visit us and work with our staff for a training, thanks to Heather. And so we're very excited about that as well. So this, you know, we are always connecting the dots, school, home, community, and I think this is one way that we're doing it. This is our last parent education class that we are offering for this year, but we have a glorious lineup for next year. We hope to fill up the gym with lots of people that will attend those workshops, so we'll be looking forward to that. Suzanne, Smitha, McPherson will lead us in this workshop. Suzanne has been teaching positive discipline for home and school since 1991. She's now retired and works as a school psychologist and has done that for 35 years. Where she applied positive discipline in her daily interactions with students and teachers and administrators and parents. Her workshops earn high marks and bring warm comments from all of those who attend. I can tell you that Heather and I attended a workshop at Trinity. We were checking it out. We were scoping you out, and we were really jazzed about what you had to offer. So we'll give you warm and very high accolades. She's been providing parenting education classes for parents, preschoolers through teens, to foster parents in schools, churches, and community centers. She has 2 adult daughters and 2 grandchildren, and she loves bluegrass. So we welcome you, Suzanne, and thank you for being with us today. Our bathrooms are straight through here, so if you would like to use those, please feel free.
Yeah, and feel free if you've been sitting all day and you need to stand up, please do that. Don't bother me a bit if you stand up, stretch, or go take care of any needs that you have. It's great to be with you. Thank you for that nice introduction. I do have 2 grandchildren and 1 more on the way. Another coming in December, and so that's fun. And it was nice to hear from you, the ages of your children. A lot of you have young children, 10 or under. And it's nice to have a few folks here that have got some older children too, because anytime you pull people together for positive discipline, you'll find that it's not me telling you stuff. It's us working together and pulling ideas out of each other and sharing our own wisdom when we can do that in a group. So I do want tonight to give you a feel for what positive discipline is about, because it has truly made a difference in my life. We used it with our children when they were young, and it fit my husband and me. It was just a really good fit. And then I used it for over 35, well, it was at least 35 years in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools, and it made a big difference in our school, in the way the whole building ran. It's just a way you live. And so I want to give you a taste for that tonight. Certainly in an hour and a half, we can't do a whole lot, but I hope that what we do will pique your curiosity and will lead you to do a little more reading on your own. There's some references at the end of your handout that can guide you into several directions to find things beyond what we can talk about tonight. And certainly we will just begin to scratch the surface tonight. I do want to start out by telling you that everything in positive discipline will meet 5 basic criteria of what we consider to be effective discipline. And I think that when you understand what these 5 things are, it gives you a feel for what positive discipline is about. It first of all will help children, students or children, feel a sense of connection, and there's always the effort with positive discipline to draw people in, never the effort to push people away. We want to draw people in. We want people to feel connected to each other, because Alfred Adler, who is the psychiatrist that all of positive discipline is based on, he was an Austrian psychiatrist that died, I think, around 1940, something like that. But anyway, He said that the two greatest needs of all people are the need to belong, to feel connected to a small group, and belonging and significance. And what he meant by significance is that you feel important enough and valued enough that you can contribute to the well-being of your group without fear of ridicule or being excluded. So that feeling of being connected and able to contribute. And those two things really account for most of our behavior as human beings. So that, anything you do with positive discipline will always encourage belonging and significance. It will always be effective long-term as opposed to short-term. So you can tie the shoes of the preschoolers and the kindergartners for a while, but that's not a good long-term intervention. We want things that are going to work for a long, long time and set children up to be successful in life. Sometimes those long-term interventions take a little bit longer to implement, but they're worth it. So we look at long-term rather than just short-term. We want things that teach social competencies and life skills so that people can learn to live and work in a group and contribute in a group. You know, when you interview employers, a lot of times what they'll tell you is that the academic skills are useful and necessary, helpful, but if you can't work with other people, then, you know, it just doesn't cut it these days. We have such complex issues in our world, and it takes all of us working together to help solve those. So we want to teach social competencies and life skills for good character. We want to do things that are respectful, that are both kind and firm at the same time, and I'll explain what that means in a little bit. But certainly that are respectful of all people, regardless of their age or their station in life, whatever. But as human beings, we deserve dignity and respect. And we want to do things that invite children to discover how capable they are, and that they can do things, that they are able to do many things to take care of themselves, because that's really where self-confidence comes from, is figuring out that you can do it. So those 5 criteria are foundational, and you will find as you read and study positive discipline that anything you find will meet those 5 criteria. There. And you've got that on your handout because I think that's so important that I really wanted to make sure that you had a copy of it. Okay, so to get started tonight, I would like for us to brainstorm and make a list of all the problems that we see with kids today. I'm sure you can name a few. So what might be some problems that we have with students and children today?
It needs to get the last word in.
What's the last word? Okay, not listening. Don't follow instructions. Entitlement.
Testing the limits.
Mm-hmm. Test limits, yes. They're very creative too, aren't they? So, yeah, what else?
Procrastination.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes, that's a good one. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Last word.
Mm-hmm.
Manipulation.
Yes, manipulate one parent against the other. Does that ever happen in your house?
Apathy.
Child against
Apathy.
Lack of respect.
Lack of respect for self and others sometimes.
Toil with self-control.
Yes, that might be a good one to put up here. Self-control. Do you ever have siblings that fight? Oh
Oh, no.
Sibling rivalry? That never happens, does it? No.
Real nonchalant attitude. Just don't care about anything.
Don't care. Not important to them. Don't care. Apathy. Oh, that, I could put that too with apathy. Yeah.
Lack of focus.
Yes, trouble focusing.
Not applying their ability, themselves to the best of their abilities.
Don't apply self. Yeah, they don't do what they're capable of doing.
Yes.
Just do the minimum to kind of squeeze by.
You do it, Mommy. I get that a lot. My friend asks me. Even
You
if
do
he
it.
knows he can do it. You do it, Mom.
Yeah, you do it. Anything else that just really pops in your mind?
Argumentative.
Okay, argumentative? And I wonder if there might also be some problems that as our kids get a little older than most of your kids in this group, with some kind of scary things. What are some scary things that we think of that kids have trouble with today?
Bullying.
Social
Social
media.
media.
Thinking they know everything.
Bullying,
Yes. I'm telling you.
know it all,
It happens.
drugs, alcohol. Some of those things that, you know, we start getting really concerned about when you have a lot more freedom.
About
It's just
lack of patience.
lack of patience.
That surliness, that middle schooler, that surliness, that sort of like.
Smart alecky.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just from the
Willingness or an attitude. Yeah. Okay, well, we could probably go on for a little bit longer, but that's a pretty good list. That would keep us busy if we dealt with all that tonight, wouldn't it? Okay, so this one up here is some problems that we deal with. Okay, now, I want to know, what are some gifts or some personal characteristics that you hope your children will have when they're about, say, 25 years old, and they've finished with all their schooling, and they've left home, and they come back to visit you? What are some gifts? We hope that they're out on their own and they come back to visit you.
Clean up their own room.
Financial independence.
So we want kindness,
Support their parents.
Medical degree.
Self-confidence.
With a specialty in gerontology.
integrity, financially independent. Okay, what else?
Confident.
Confident.
Their self-worth, self-esteem, confidence.
Good moral compass.
A good moral, yes. Uh-huh. Initiative?
Mutual respect.
Yes, mutual.
Good communicator,
Pardon?
a good communicator.
Yes, communication skills.
Gratefulness.
Yes. Communication skills. Gratefulness.
Compassion.
Compassion. What was that last? Selfless. Compassion. Yeah.
Humility.
Humility. Or a sense of
Happiness.
Happiness, yeah.
And a sense of humor.
Resiliency. Do you have that up there?
Resiliency.
I was gonna say grit.
Yeah.
I like resiliency better.
Just so you know, but we and I do this all the time. Across the hall from one another.
Resiliency or grit, whichever one you prefer.
What else? Problem solving skills.
Great. Problem-solving skills. Y'all can tell that I was not a first grade teacher because I have mixed printing and stuff, everything else all in here.
I
Okay.
want them to have a passion or be passionate
Yes.
about something.
Uh-huh. Have a passion.
Goals, goals.
Goals? I'm gonna just add goals right there.
Good health.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Take care of themselves.
Take off the forced parties when they enter the house.
How about patience? We said lack of, so let's hope they
Yes.
patience.
Yes. Okay. Anything else that you can think of?
The ability to expect, I would say accountability, to be accountable for their own actions.
Yes. Accountability. Here we go. Anything else that just pops in your head? Okay, I'm going to read you a list of the things that positive discipline.
We're looking at good people.
Pardon?
Good people, like just general.
Able to relate well to people.
Yeah.
Yeah. People skills.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's a little delayed reaction. Shuts down after
Maybe I can do
5.
something else. No problem. The things that are developed when you use positive discipline with your children. Listen to this list and see how close it comes to what you've got up here, and if you think we should add anything. Positive self-concept, responsibility, self-discipline, cooperation, open-mindedness. Did we get that? Not really. Tolerance. Yeah. Okay. Objective thinking skills, respect for self and others, compassion, acceptance of self and others, enthusiasm for life, interest in learning, courtesy, honesty, self-control, patience, a sense of humor, concern for others, problem-solving skills, inner wisdom, integrity. Pretty similar, isn't it? I have done this activity, I cannot tell you how many times, with all kinds of groups in different places all over the place. And it is amazing how similar these goals are, how similar we are as parents in what we want for our children. Also, very similar in terms of our concerns for our children. We have a lot more in common than we have differences when it comes to these things. So, I'm going to put this up for a second, and then we are going to, well, before I do that, let me ask you to sit up real straight. And let's see, I think you can probably see me even if I sit down, can't you? Show you us what you're seeing? I can see you. Okay, so I want you to sit up real straight. I want you to put your hands on your knees. And then I want you to make a circle with your right hand. Circle like that. And I want you to put your circle on your chin. Yes, you have your hand up here on your cheek.
I know, she said chin, but you put it on your cheek. Yeah, and I stood here like this.
You couldn't figure out what to do, huh?
I wasn't sure, I wasn't heard you correctly.
Ah, okay. So why do so many people put their hand immediately right there on their cheek? Yeah, because I'm modeling. So, when we think about our children, when we want to help them move from these problems over here to these gifts over here, what's the first thing we have to do? That's right. We have to model these kind of things as much as we can. life. Now, I'll say right off the bat that positive discipline is not about being perfect. There is nobody who can do this all the time. We just can't do that. And in positive discipline, we talk about how mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn. And do you know that last night, maybe I don't have it, maybe I didn't bring it. Oh, yes, I did. I've had this poster, this piece of chart paper. I bet you I've had this thing for 5 years. I've been putting it up in workshops. And I looked at the word recognize and I thought, that looks funny. And I had an S there. For 5 years, I've had this up on the thing, up on the charts, all over, everywhere. Nobody ever caught that it should have been a Z.
Well, that would work in England.
Right. Yes. So we all make mistakes all the time. And we talk in positive discipline about how mistakes are great opportunities to learn. And we should treasure that because that's how we move forward. And we just need to remember that there are 3 R's of recovery. And you'll see in positive discipline literature sometimes a 4th one. Sometimes Jane changes things. She's great for changing things. She's a very creative woman, lovely person, and she changes things. But anyway, most of the time you'll see 3 R's of recovery. We just need to recognize when we make a mistake. Not with sackcloth and ashes, but just, I made a mistake. We need to reconcile with the person and apologize for what we've done. And then we need to resolve that situation and work out a solution. And what happens when you tell your kids you made a mistake and I'm sorry? What happens? What do they say? It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. And they're very forgiving. They really are. And when we do that as parents, we're modeling for them what they should do when they make a mistake with their friends or with their teacher or other people that they come in contact with. So it's really important when we realize we've made a mistake to take full advantage of that and use those 3 R's of recovery and teach, model for our children how they should handle it when they've made a mistake. So as we move through this evening, what we're going to be basically talking about tonight is a lot of different tools. And certainly mistakes are wonderful opportunities to learn is one tool that we talk about in positive discipline. We talk about the 3 R's of recovery as another tool. A tool that helps our children be better people as they grow up. So, this one over here. Now, I want to introduce another tool or sort of a concept for you in positive discipline that is really foundational because it just underlies everything that we do with children. Kindness and firmness at the same time is what we want with positive discipline. So tell me this, what are kids like who grow up in families where there is not much firmness? What are those kids like? Do you like to have those families over for a family dinner? What are those kids like where there's no firmness?
Wild.
They're wild.
Disrespectful. Entitled.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to be.
Entitled. Exhausting. Yeah, exhausting. Yeah, we could go on and on.
Destructive.
Yeah, they can be destructive too. What are kids like who grow up in families where there's a whole lot of kindness, but there isn't much firmness in the family? What are those kids like?
Like I can see them, but I can't figure out how to describe them.
Do they tend to be uncontrollable? Not pushovers, but kind of,
Probably an
They're
English.
pretty similar.
yeah.
What about spoiled? Would we use that word for kids that have too much kindness and not enough firmness?
Yeah.
They want everything to be their way. You know, they've been real lenient at home. They've always gotten their way, so they kind of want their way. Are these kids good about, let's say you're playing a game. How do they do it?
Do-overs.
They don't share. They don't share.
They don't share.
Don't share well. Uh-huh.
Don't play well.
They don't tend to play well, do they? Because they always want their way. You know, they've been used to having their way. So when there's too much kindness and not enough firmness, what we tend to see is children who want their way, they don't share very well, they're spoiled, kind of difficult to have around.
Demanding.
Demanding, yeah, demanding. Yeah.
Tunnel vision, they can only see what they can see.
Yes.
They can't see other people's perspective.
Yeah. Can't see perspective.
And self-absorbed.
Uh-huh, of others. Very good point. Yeah, self-absorbed, okay? And so when there's too much firmness, did I say that wrong at the beginning?
Yeah.
I think I did, you know, what did I say? Okay. I'm sorry.
We understood though, didn't we?
You smoothed it out real well.
I thought it was all raised really well. Kindness and firmness.
Kids who grow up in families where there's too much firmness in the family, but there's not enough kindness, what are those kids like? Cold. They can be cold. Timid. Timid.
Scared to make a mistake.
They can be scared. They can be wild in the sense of being a bully sometimes. Yeah.
Follower.
Anxious, someone said anxious.
Anxious, yes. Scared or anxious. Follower, they can be either, it's almost like one extreme or the other. Either they're very timid and they're the follower, or they're the bully, because, you know, they've kind of been bullied at home. If we wanted to think of a word that might describe a parenting style where there's a whole lot of kindness, but there isn't much firmness, what might that word be? Just one word that would fit for that kind of parenting.
Permissive.
Permissive, yeah. This would be permissive parenting. Yeah, permissive parenting. And now down here, what might be a word that would fit for too much firmness and not enough kindness? Controlling. Controlling. Mm-hmm. Very good. Controlling, very controlling parenting. And if we think about children who get neither kindness nor firmness, what kind of parenting might that be? Neglect. Okay. That would be neglect. Then, what we're talking about up here, we want positive discipline, which is putting kindness and firmness together at the same time. And to explain that a little further, when I say kindness, what is a synonym that you often think of? If they say, oh, she's so kind, she's so sweet, nice. Yeah. A lot of people will think by kindness, we're talking about being very sweet or very nice, you know. But that's really not what we're talking about with positive discipline. With kindness, we're talking about something that shows respect for the child and where the child is coming from. And to show respect for a child and where they're coming from, it's important for us to connect with that child and to try to understand where that child is. So we're really talking about connection. And that might take most likely the form of empathy, by empathizing with the child at the moment of a conflict or the moment of some problem situation, and trying to acknowledge how you think they're feeling, taking a guess at what they might be feeling at that time. But connecting is the key component for showing kindness to children and showing respect for where they are as a child. The other piece, when we talk about firmness, we're talking about correction, because it is important for us as adults to correct children sometimes. That needs to be done. So correction is the firmness piece. And children are much more likely to hear this correction if we have first connected with them, if we have empathized with them, if they think that we have some idea of what they're going through. It's true for any person. You know, as an adult, if you talk to another person, the other person feels like you understand them, that you understand where they're coming from. You're much more likely to be open to suggestions that you might have. So this is really key. Connection before correction. Connection before correction. And that's what we really mean by kindness and firmness, putting those two things together. Connection before correction. And to just give you an idea, a little more discussion about that, I thought I might just do a sentence. Would you be willing to just let me say something to you, and you just tell me how you feel about it? Okay. So let's pretend that you're a kid at home, and you've been watching TV, you know, and it's getting close to bedtime. And, you know, I've got to get you to bed. So I say to you, you know, come on, let's get ready for bed. I know that you want to watch TV, but it's time to go to bed right now. Okay? So when I say to you, I know that you want to watch TV, but it's time to go to bed right now, do you have any feelings that come up with that? As a child?
I just don't want to watch TV.
Yeah,
I can see you actually still want to watch it.
You're being told what
5
to
more
do.
minutes.
Do you feel like I've acknowledged how you feel about television, or what you're doing?
Not really. I mean,
Yeah, it just kind of leaves you kind of flat, you know, you just kind of want to resist it. Okay, what if I said to you, I know you want to watch TV, and it's time to go to bed right now. Do you hear anything different there?
yeah, you said and.
Yeah. Does that change anything for you?
A little bit, because now you're just saying this is the issue, this is what you're feeling like. You have two different conflicting things. And it just sounds better.
It sounds a little better to you. Can you put your finger on why it sounds a little bit better?
Did you say but?
I said but the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't pay attention to the first part after you say but.
Yeah, yeah, after somebody says but, if I say but, they're gone, because I've completely disavowed the reality of their feelings, haven't I? Yeah, I said that doesn't matter, it's time to go to bed. You know, so when I say but, that kind of knocks out the value of their feelings, or what they're feeling at that point. So if I say and, that's just a tiny little change. But sometimes, a tiny little change like that can give the person a little bit of a feeling of connection, because I've acknowledged the value of you enjoying yourself. You know, it is important for you to be able to enjoy yourself and watch TV every once in a while. And it's time to go to bed.
Also, your tone the second time around was different.
It was. Yes, it is. And sometimes if we change the wording ourselves, you know, I wouldn't use the word and unless I really was noticing that you were enjoying the television, you know, and it really is time to go to bed. So my voice changes a little bit. And so if it changes just a little bit with the difference between but and, what if I said something like, you have really enjoyed television tonight. I've heard you laughing upstairs for the last hour and a half. And you know what? It really is time for bed. Would you like to pick out a book tonight to read, or do you want me to pick it out? How does that land with you?
Better.
It's better, isn't
I like
it?
it.
Yeah. It lands a little bit better. If I change the but to and I really do make it clear to her that I understand how she feels about the television. You know, it really is important. I do connect with you on that. And then, instead of just saying, it's time for bed, I give you a choice about something. Maybe it's, do you want to wear your red pajamas or your blue ones? You know, or do you want to pick out the books, or do you want me to? Or what books would you like to pick out tonight? So subtle little changes like that, changing but to and in a sentence, can make a difference. Making sure that we really do acknowledge the feelings, connecting on those feelings at first, And then giving choices with what we need our kids to do in the next part of the sentence, when it's time to go to bed, or it's time to leave where we're going, or whatever. So those are 3 little things that I hope you'll keep in mind, little tiny tools that might make a difference for you with children. I want us to talk a little bit about problem solving tonight, and to do this, we're going to need to do a little role play. And so I need 2 people who are willing to be brother and sister in the back seat of the car. And so, can I have 2 people? Does anybody ever have 2 kids that argue or fuss in the back of the car? Okay, so you all know what it's like when kids argue and fuss and yell and get too loud. All right, girls, let's get in the car. We're heading out now. And I'm just going to all be just like 2 kids.
Stop it, Sarah!
Your bell is so loud. Listen, y'all have to be quiet back there. I mean, really, this is crazy.
Mom?
Be that loud.
Mom, when are we going? She is pushing me out. I'm not.
If you girls don't stop fighting like this, you're going to have a wreck. Stop this. What in the world is going on back here?
They're so disgusting.
If you don't stop this, I'm going to stop this.
But
car.
she's so disgusting.
I'm going to stop. I'm going to pull over. Stop it. Okay, end of role play.
Did we do well?
Don't go anywhere. Okay. So what was that like for you? Annoying. You were annoying each other.
Right.
Yeah.
It was fun to see how annoyed she was getting. It was fun. Like, well, that was a good job I just gave.
Yeah. Did you even hear anything I said?
No, were you speaking?
I have no idea that you were even saying a thing.
Did
you hear me when I was yelling?
I did hear you yelling, Mom. I did. Okay, so I want us to illustrate now a tool that's called Decide What You Will Do and Then Follow Through. Now, we could certainly attack this kind of problem in different ways with Pastor Disco. We could have a family meeting, and we could discuss the problems that we're having in the car. But because of the safety issue, and because, let's say, we don't have any family meetings yet, I'm just going to, handle this. I'm going to decide for myself what I think is important, and I'm going to explain it to my kids, and then I'm going to follow through and do what I say I'm going to do. Okay? So let's pretend like we're at home right now, and we've just finished breakfast or dinner. Let's say we've just finished dinner, and we're just sitting around, and we'll just chat. Girls, I just wanted to let you know that I'm really concerned about how noisy it gets in the car when we're going places, and I truly am. I'm really afraid that I'm going to have a wreck. And I'm not blaming either one. I don't really care who, really. That's not the point. And what's important to me is just that we use voices that are inside voices, acceptable level, and that you keep your own space so that you're not poking each other and creating friction between the two of you. So I really need inside voices and keep your own space in the car. And so I decided that when we leave to go somewhere, we're driving along, if either one of those things are violated, I'm just going to pull off the road and I'm going to stop. And I'll have a book with me or a magazine or something. And I'll just read quietly to myself until you tell me you're ready for us to go. And so, when you each can tell me, I'll use an inside voice and I'll keep my own space, I'm ready for us to go. I need to hear that from each one of you before I would pull back on the road and drive. That's what I'm going to do from now on, because I really am concerned about the safety. So I just wanted to let you know. Do you have any questions about that, about what I mean by inside voice or keep your own space?
Well, what happens if she doesn't? You're just gonna pull over and it's,
I'm gonna pull over and we're gonna stop.
What if, I would be late for this? I might be, what if I'm late for?
I'm sorry, you'll just miss some horseback riding. That would be a problem. Really would. But, you know, it would be worse for us not to get to horseback riding, to have a wreck and not get there at all. So, that's really where I am, okay? Just wanted to let you know. So, you know, we go on then with the evening, we go on, we go bed the next day. This is summertime, by the way, so we're not going to school this time. And I am not going to use this or implement this for the first time on the way to horseback riding, because I realize there's going to, you know, you're going to test it. So I'm not going to pick that time to implement this for the first time. If we've got a doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock tomorrow this afternoon, I'm going to make a bogus trip to the grocery store so that I can demonstrate this without me feeling anxious about the time, you know, and without creating that time issue. Okay. So, girls, we've got to run to the grocery store right quick. Everybody hop in. And just before we get going, yeah, we got to go to the grocery store. And let me ask you again, tell me again what was my...
Sarah is not supposed to poke me.
Okay, explain it again the way I said it. What was the first thing about voices?
You said she can't scream at me, because she always screams at me.
You have to have inside voices, right?
Yeah, you can't scream at me.
You can't poke me.
If you scream at me, I can't even look at you.
Yeah,
And I
so,
thought I'm gonna scream at her because she's gonna.
okay. So if your voices are too loud, or if you're in the other person's space, I will pull off the road and I will wait for you to tell me I can use an inside voice, I can keep my own space, and I'm ready for us to go. Got that? Got it? You sure?
How long will we be at the grocery store?
Oh, not too long. All right. All right. Here we go. Let's go. Head off to the grocery store. It's a long way to our grocery store.
She pushed me, Mom! You said no!
Now we're going to do it forever.
It's your fault.
How much longer in the chapter? What? Already?
Seriously, stop.
I just done it. Yeah, I'm chewing it.
Thanks, Mom.
Mom!
Why is she not answering me?
Because you're chomping your gum, probably. It's kind of a thing. Oh, make me so
Why
mad.
do you keep pushing me?
Fine, let's just shut up. And leave each other alone, and then we can go to the grocery store.
We're ready.
There are 3 things I need you to tell me. What were they?
Honestly? She failed. I'm not up for donut.
I'm fine, I'm sorry. I said I was sorry. How much longer in your chapter?
There were 3 things I needed you to tell me. 3 things forward.
I'm going
Each
to
of
talk in a quiet place, and I am going to I'm not
Thank you. I appreciate you following through with that. It's very helpful. Okay. What was that like for you? as a kid?
Oh, that'd be torture.
Well, I'm not trying to torture you, really.
No, but it would be very frustrating.
Yeah.
So you felt some frustration because you couldn't get me riled up or to separate your fighting or
Yeah,
whatever?
because you didn't fix her.
Because I wasn't fixing, I wasn't getting in between either one of you. It's mutual. So it was frustrating.
Right.
Yeah. So what, any other feelings that you were having about this?
I was a little angry with you,
Okay.
and maybe more than a little.
You might have been furious. Yeah.
What about the fact though that we help them remember? Would you just chat longer? Oh, yeah. So do you just sit longer?
When you were ready to go, I would have probably given, if they'd gotten really quiet and they truly were having trouble remembering, especially a young child, then I probably would have said, the third thing is to tell me that you're ready to go. Well, then,
Maybe you can say we're ready to go.
yeah, we're ready to go.
Having the book is, or a magazine or something that shows that you've got all the time in the world.
Yeah.
And you're doing just fine up there.
Yeah.
I think that's powerful.
Has anybody ever done this?
I have a different, I've read it, so I do pull over, but I believe I'm calling the police.
Oh,
Yeah, I literally, it's her saying, yes, a red car just drove by, like, they're like, oh, I'm gonna go get it.
We have both like gotten out, gotten out of the car
Ah.
until they were done.
Uh-huh.
We've done that before.
Yes. And did that help improve car behavior?
Yes.
With your children? Yes.
Long term.
Yeah. I have a relative that had 3 children that were just over the top all the time. And I was going to take these 3 kids to the movie. And I thought, I'll tell you what, I'm not having these kids think they're going to just get away with murder in my car. I mean, they already caused 1 wreck, literally. And I had this conversation before we left. And we had to pull off within 5 minutes. And we were going to a movie, so they wanted to get to that movie on time. We pulled off the road. It took them about 2 minutes, and it was deathly quiet in my car. And in all the years since, I have never had trouble with those kids. It is a matter of deciding what you're going to do as an adult, being prepared. You think about this before you are in a position to carry it out. Think about it, explain it at a time when everybody's calm, decide what you're going to do to follow through, and then do it. Stick to your guns.
And I think the fact that you were calm, like you didn't
Yeah.
want, it's instinct to want to turn, seriously, shut up guys, or what, and you didn't, you just stayed calm. You gave them, it was all in their hands, they had every power to get you going on the road.
That's right. That's
And
right.
the trial run is nice, like you said, if you're on your way to a 3 o'clock doctor's appointment.
Yeah, that would not be a good time.
And I think it's as good a trial run for the parent more than the kid, because, you know, you definitely be like, okay, it's been.
But they didn't have electronics either. So I can see the kid retrieving his tablet or his phone and being there for quite a while.
Well, as long as they're quiet and then they give me their their statements or
Right.
whatever I expect, I'm fine if they're on their tablet. That's okay. It's nice to like look out the window and see stuff. It's done sometimes, so.
I think the biggest key to what you just did is sitting the kids down, having that conversation with them. And Adam and I talk about it all the time. We forget to do that, like setting the expectation
Yes.
before we go.
Yes, and then you get in the middle of it, in the thick of it, and you're going, oh, why didn't I? Yeah. But with
The teachers don't do that either. They set the expectation at the beginning of the year, and then they try to reinforce it, but maybe there needs to be more of those sit-down meeting times.
Yeah, because we all forget. We get
Right.
bored with it.
Well, and the
We
kids
have to
forget.
change it. Sure, the kids forget.
Or they're testing, or they're.
Sure, and they change developmentally. I mean, there are
Yeah.
lots of issues. There are lots of reasons why,
Right.
But if we remain, when we really have something serious like this, if you maintain that standard and you don't get in, then it's pretty effective. So.
Yeah, I think it's very important to follow through with what you said you're gonna and, you know, like, we're returning books at the library. And I said, okay, now we're gonna go check out some books, but I need you guys to behave good on the way there. So if they're not behaving well, and I know, you know, it's the library, to them it's, oh my gosh, the library. So I'll go and I'll drop off, I'll leave them in the car, drop off the books in the little drop off. You know, I just park, drop them off. I said, okay, I warned you guys, I told you, that devastates them. Oh, yeah, it's, you know, checking out a book, devastating. The fact that we went to drop them off, and we go inside to check out their book.
That you stuck to your guns. And it's not really the end of the world. And I do think it's important, I think it's a little scary to do something like what you did with the police, because you want to be careful to make sure that whatever your expectations are, you really would do it. You know, you really would follow through. I know. So, yeah, that's true. So just make sure that whatever you set up as your expectation, that you really are going to follow through with them, that you can do it. You know, because then if they figure out that you're really not on the police, you know, and that becomes. I think that is so much for doing that.
I think that works really well. I have teens now, but the other part of the conversation that always worked really well with my kids was the rationale for why things are the way they are.
Yes.
So it's not because I like quiet in the car. It's because I have a responsibility and a job, and it's really important that we get to the next place safely. And I can't do that for you if you're doing what you're doing.
Yes.
That part was always really critical when my kids were little.
Glad you said that. It's really important. Yes. And that kind of message has to be delivered when people are calm and able to hear.
If I may ask, maybe this isn't the time, but if I was thinking of connection, because we're working through a few things, and my natural response wants to be to not allow one of our 3 children to do something with us, even if it's eat dinner with us. But something in my heart says, even though I'm having a hard time with the firmness and the kindness and the connection is, for me, dinner time is a time of connection, and I really don't like the idea of a punishment being that you can't join us. May I get your opinion on that?
Personally, I would share your bias, because we all scatter all day, we don't see each other, and even when you get home, you're trying to get homework done, and, you know, so many other things. And personally, I would share your bias, that dinner is too important.
It's really the child acting out because they want your attention, so wouldn't that be opposite of what you want to do? Exclude them? Don't they really, if you're excluding them and you're not teaching them, you're not connecting with them.
Right.
So if there's a problem, aren't they doing something that's requiring?
But it's kind of a natural consequence
The
for
problem
it
for
was
me is one of my children is ruining dinner for the rest of us.
Oh.
You know, just can't drop it of, you know, like your fork's making too much noise, you're chewing with your mouth open, you're, this for dinner, you know, and so I think you're kind of ruining it for us. And if you take a hike, we could still enjoy dinner, but I know in my heart I wouldn't enjoy it as much as us together. So maybe the consequence is something that isn't you can't sit with us at dinner, but this child would be thrilled to, you know, then have to empty the dishwasher or something like that. So it's kind of, you're ruining a moment that's important to me.
You know, that could be a really complicated answer.
Okay.
And if you've got a few minutes after,
Yeah,
maybe
that's
we
fine.
can talk. Because it could be, I'm just listening to you, the more you said, it could be, who knows?
Yeah.
My general response to that kind of thing is if you're doing family meetings, you put it on a family meeting agenda. And you talk about what can we do to help with this problem. And maybe somebody says, let's turn music on so we can't hear him smacking, you know, his food.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a solution. Kids come up with some pretty creative things. Maybe
Change seats, so I don't have, if you chew with your mouth open, I don't have to sit across from you.
Right, some things like that. So, yeah, some simple solutions like that might come up in a family meeting. but we can talk a little bit
Okay.
about that. Thank you. I also want to mention one other thing about this diagram before I leave it. In most partnerships where children are involved, one parent is more here and one parent is more here. You know? And what happens if we're not careful is this parent sees this one being so controlling and dictatorial and thinks, I just cannot believe they are being so mean, so controlling with my child. And so this parent becomes more permissive to make up for what this one's doing. And this one then sees this one becoming more permissive and thinks, these children are going to the dogs. I don't tighten things up around here, you know. And so what happens is that there's a dance that goes on back and forth. And the children figure this out, of course, and they do the dance. And they know who to go to for what they want and how to manipulate situations to their advantage. So this needs to be, we need to be aware of that, and we need, as couples, to talk. I mean, these two people have got to come together in the quiet of the evening, somewhere, and talk and try to figure out, you know, where the other person's coming from and why the other person is saying what they're saying and doing. And we've got to reach a place where we respect each other and we don't let our kids dance and have us get further and further apart. So it's really important for parents to pull together and communicate on that. What we mean by connection and connection before correction. Okay. I want next, we promised Mommy, to get about 7 people who will come up here and be adults for me. And I have the sentence strip. You don't even have to figure out what to say. So if you'll just come stand up here, 7 people facing that way. Right quick. 1, thank you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you. 7. 1 more.
Oh, I'll do it. I'm sorry. I think.
Okay, well, would you like to be
Sure. I just wanted a cookie too. I'm happy.
Okay, so we're going to get right over here. I want you all to start with the purple side. Yes, start with the purple side. And what I want you to do is to just walk up to the first person. And you're going to say what's on the purple side of your card to me, okay? And you don't have to say anything, you don't have to do anything, but I want you to pay attention to how you feel, how that hits you, what you're feeling, maybe what you're thinking or deciding in that situation. And when you figured it out in your head, then you can move to the next person. So you don't have to rush, is what I'm telling you, okay? And then you'll read what's on your purple side. And we'll just go down the road and see what happens. So let's listen up and watch and see what happens. Just raise your purple side.
Don't run in this house.
Put on your coat. Stop whining.
Quit yelling in the car.
Pick up your dirty clothes.
Don't touch those cards. Right. All right, so what was that like for you? What were you noticing?
It was hard. I feel like as a kid, if I'm just thinking from a kid's perspective, I don't necessarily have the tools to do what they were telling me to do, so that leaves you in a bad spot.
Oh.
That's kind of how I felt.
Okay, so they weren't really telling you how to do something or what they wanted you to do. They were just telling you don't, or
Right.
they were just telling you.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't telling you how.
Right.
Okay.
Unclear expectation, I guess.
All right. Okay. Anything else you noticed?
It was negative in general.
Okay. Just felt kind of
She
negative.
was actually, hers was much more positive.
Did you all notice anything about her face or anything that you noticed about?
She looks a little shocked.
She looked a little shell-shocked.
Yeah, I haven't had like a finger in my face. I don't know. So that was.
Okay. All right, so flip your sentence strip over, okay, and go back. And again, the same instructions.
Where is it okay to run?
What do you need to do before you go outside?
How can you speak to me so I can understand you?
What kind of voice do we use in the car?
Or do our dirty clothes go?
Where do you keep your hands in the store?
You felt bad for the finger pointing.
Okay, so what do you notice this time? How are you feeling?
I felt like I had control over what I was about to do, other than them.
Okay. All right, so you had a measure of personal control. All right, were the wheels turning in your head at all?
Yeah, I had to know what was next, rather than when they were telling me before, I didn't feel like I really knew.
Okay. All right. All right, so what did you all notice in the, maybe the first and the second? Anything that you want to comment about?
She appeared to be listening.
Listening better.
The first time there were all like statements, commands, yeah. The second time I was like asking her what she should be doing.
And even your tone changes when you're asking this question.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
And I think you have to process it, like you hear a statement, you hear it, but you don't really have to process it.
Right.
If the
Intrinsically, a question
you have
causes
to
you.
stop for a second and like, what did they say? Because it was a question. So I think it also gets that you're paying more attention too.
And it also was somewhat Socratic, and in that sense, you could see the wheels turning. This is like helping somebody learn by asking the question, where's the answer? And I think it's easy to be resentful when somebody commands you, but you can't really be resentful when somebody asks you a question.
I would imagine with kids, there would be times when they legitimately don't know the answer, but you thought they did. I mean, I can see that in my classroom, like if I think they know the expectation, but I asked, and then I realized they didn't know the expectation, then that's on me, right? So, I don't know, it's a way to find out that they actually weren't on the same page as you as I thought they were.
Yeah, so it really is informative to us sometimes. Yeah. Okay. Other comments from you? Anything you noticed or anything you'd like to comment about?
So it depends on the age of the child though, because some of those questions as a middle school teacher are a little patronizing.
Oh, yes,
It
yes.
depends on who's receiving the message,
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
But they stop finding work everywhere.
Yes. There is, you're right, and we could come up with another set of 7 or 8 sentences that would be appropriate for older kids. Yeah. And if you think about it, or can you give me an example of a flip, you know, one thing that you could say, you could command a teenager to do, and the contrasting question statement. Can you think of something from your experiences?
Brush your teeth. I guess what would happen to me, I think the majority of those concerns were for little kids, so that's part of the reason why the question felt young. So maybe the concern itself would be more mature, and then the question matching it would also feel more mature. So the concern might be.
We still could use pick up your clothes.
I guess you could just say, like, at that point, you would have had a mutual expectation discussion, maybe. So what was the expectation we agreed upon with whatever it was? I don't know. That seems more
I've
important.
been asking mine what time they think would be a great time to go to bed at their age.
Yeah, it's got to be a little more empowering.
Because they
What do they say?
recently,
What's the
they're
answer?
13, one would like to stay up till 4 in the morning and draw or listen to music. So it's very new, and I'm in bed at like 7. Like I'm past my bedtime. So it's really a change for me. So I started, I think, with, and don't judge me, but I started with a sort of demanding, it's time for bed. Like I'm exhausted. It's all about me. I want to go to bed. Right? And or then more drama when you're like really tired. So it's like, I've been working all day. And I need you all to go to bed. So, right. But it does that, and then I would find myself being angry with myself because I was asking or telling it over and over and over and getting the same results. And so now I've tried, once I've had some good sleep and can think a little clearly, I've tried these. So what do you think would be a good time to go to bed? Because I know you think I'm weird for going to bed at 7:30. Why do you think I want you to go to bed? And then they'll maybe take some time. Sometimes lately I notice that I have to give them time. Like, you know what, just think about it. Don't worry about it right now. I'll just make dinner and we'll talk about it when you're ready. Yeah. But I noticed that questioning has now left me not responsible for I get myself frustrated going back and forth to them and asking them what time they're going to bed, or it's time for bed, it's time for bed, it's time for bed.
And I think there's a little bit more, going back to the point earlier, there's a little bit more with the team that's, all right, what do you got going on tomorrow? Mm-hmm. Oh, that sounds like a crazy day. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You gonna be able to handle that if you don't get some sleep soon?
Or how much sleep do you think you need?
Yeah, so there's like a little more, I don't know, a little more mature dialogue, I guess, involved.
There's a list up there, kind of back over here, and I don't know, here, I'll take your, thank you all so much. Let's give them a round of applause. Well, let me do one quick thing. Put your hands together like this, please. Just put your hands together like that. This is not a trick question at all. Why did you put your hands together?
Because you asked me to, and he said it's.
Yeah, okay, all right. And so this is not a trick question at all either. What did you do?
Put my hands together.
I put my hands together. What's the difference in those two answers? She said, because you told me to, right? Yeah, and you said, I put my hands together. Okay. Where's the locus of control for the hands being together in the relationship here? Why are your hands, whose fault is it that your hands are together?
Well, yours.
Yeah, because I told you to. It's all my fault, right? Yeah. And where's the locus of control here? With her. She says, I put my hands together. Okay, what was the difference in the question?
You asked me why. And you asked Heather what she just did.
Yes. So if you start out with a why did you do that? Or why did you do whatever? It invites a kid to say, I don't know, or to place blame externally. So don't start with why. I mean, down the road, why may be very helpful, but don't start with why. Start with what or how. What were you trying to do? What were you thinking? What happened when you did that? What could you have done differently? How did other people react? You should turn the wheels in your head, and when you're thinking about problem solving with kids, ask what and how questions first. And at some point, why may be very helpful and very appropriate, but don't start there, because that invites people to place blame externally. So in the same sense as what you heard up here, you heard people asking instead of telling. Asking is a much more, it invites less defensiveness, it invites the wheels to turn. Asking rather than telling is a powerful tool. And then if you build with your asking and get a little more sophisticated and avoid why and instead ask what and how questions, then you get kids to really start thinking. So when you're thinking about bedtime, you know, how do you feel the next day when you stay up till midnight? You want to do some journaling. Let's make some notes and see what works for you. You know, what and how questions, in other words. So there's another tool for you with positive discipline. That's an easy one to take out of your use. You know, we've got about 15 minutes, and I would really like to, I'm going to kind of change the order of what we're doing because I really want to explain the brain in the palm of the hand to you. And if we have time after that, we'll do something else. This is something that I think is really important for us to understand as adults. And as soon as we understand it and can use it and deal with it ourselves, then we can teach our children this. And it's something that came from a guy named Daniel Siegel, and I gave you his name on the handout. And you can actually Google, go to YouTube and Google Daniel Siegel or Brain in the Hand, and you can get a little video to watch him do it. Now, he's a neurologist, so he does it a little bit smoother than what I do. But he is really an amazing man, and if you're ever interested in studying attachment and early child development, some pretty deep issues, he is a fabulous, amazing person. His books are excellent. But anyway, he's given us a model for the brain that I think is so useful. And he says, let's pretend that this is your spinal cord. And at the top of your spinal cord, right inside your brain, is what we consider to be the lower part of the brain. And right in here, a lot of the autonomic functions are handled at the top of the brain stem. Things like your breathing, your blood pressure, and stuff like that, so that we live, and we don't have to think about those things. And then you go up a little bit more, and this is the fight or flight section, where if you were in some kind of danger, this part of your brain would just sort of take over, and you either run or you freeze, or you fight, whatever. It's a primitive part of the brain that helps with survival. And then if you fold your thumb across that part of your brain, this is the part of your brain where memories and feelings are stored. So if you think back to Christmas last year and you're remembering a lot of the things that were important to you and that meant a lot to you, this is the part of your brain that's active, is your memories and your feelings. Then if you fold your fingers down so that your fingers touch your thumb there, this is the cerebral cortex, and that's the more, what we think of as the problem-solving part of the brain, the rational part. If you were writing an essay, it would be dealing with spelling and punctuation and paragraph indentation and all sorts of things. And your brain, your cerebral cortex would be working. And as you were writing the essay, messages would go back and forth to your memories and your feelings. So you'd have messages going back and forth to help you with a creative writing task. But where your fingers touch is the prefrontal cortex, and that's right behind your eyes in your head. So it's like this. And that part of your brain is a really important part of your brain. It's responsible for intuition, for flexibility in a situation when you've got to change and do something different from the way you expected. So flexibility, response flexibility. It's responsible for morality, for deciding right and wrong. A lot of functions. It's a very important part of the brain. And the interesting thing about that prefrontal cortex is that it doesn't work well under stress. So if all of a sudden we find ourselves in a really stressful situation, this prefrontal cortex kind of goes offline, and it's like you flip your lid. And when you flip your lid, you don't have access to this rational thought up here. You can't get to it as well. Things don't go back and forth very well in your brain. You may be able to think back to a time when you were under unusual stress and then something else happened and you did something really goofy, and you think later, why did I do that? You're thinking, why did I do that? Well, it's probably because you have flipped your lid. We can't do our best problem solving when we flipped our lids. So it's very important that we get away from the situation. Do something to calm ourselves down so that everything re-engages. And then we can think, and we can use that prefrontal cortex, our mind sight, and our intuition to figure out what we ought to do. And we can think back to things that have happened in our history and that did or didn't work, and apply those things in this situation. But anyway, everything works so much better when we calm down. Then we can solve the problem. There's another thing, another factor that's at play here, and it's called mirror neurons. Have you ever heard of mirror neurons by chance? Okay. Mirror neurons are present from birth, and when you hold an infant and you smile at that baby and you coo and you make sounds, over time, what does that baby do? Copies, yeah. Does the same thing right back. And that's because of mirror neurons. And that mechanism in our brain is probably largely responsible for our survival from the caveman days. I mean, that's how things were handed down. People looked at the other people to figure out how to do stuff. And so those mirror neurons are really important ways for us to learn. That's why modeling, we talked about modeling earlier. That's the mirror neurons at work. When a person sees something, when I did this little thing, those are mirror neurons that were working for you when you copied what you saw. So, if you have had a rough day at work, and I mean a really rough day, and you're about half like this anyway before you got home, and then your kids come in, and one of them has gotten in trouble at school, and you know, he's done something or she's done something really foolish, and they're about like this, and there's some heated words exchanged, and mirror neurons are at work, and I get more and more upset. What is this child likely to do simply because I'm flipping? Flip, that's right. So we have two factors at play here. We have not, well, many probably, but we have the mirror neurons that are part of the problem here, and the complicated issues that we're all dealing with. So what we need to do when we realize that we're flipping is we need to get away from each other. We need to go to a comfortable space and calm down and come out ready to solve the problem. So the concept in positive discipline of timeout is radically different from the concept of timeout in most other discipline programs. In most, you know, the way most people do it, you go to timeout and you suffer. You know, until you figure out what you did wrong, and then when you get it figured out, you can come back out. You know, and I'm good, and, you know, they're upset, and you know, and so you go there and you suffer, and that, and heaven forbid, don't take anything with you. No, you can't play with your whatever while you're sitting there. Give me those Legos. You know, and that's not the concept with positive discipline. If you have young children, there is the cutest little book, Jared's Cool Out Space, and I have it listed on your handout. And this is about a kid who loses his temper, and he comes home, and his mom is a good positive discipline parent, and she offers to help him make a space in the house that can be his cool down space, and he wants it to be like with planets and outer space stuff. And so they do that, they make their space, and they actually paint the walls in the room, which I probably wouldn't go that far, but they make a little black border, you know, and they've got they're gonna put the planets up there and the stars and everything. So they make this space, and unfortunately, the kid was upset when he came home because he had broken a gift that he made at school for his father's birthday. And so that's why he was angry when he got home. And so he makes this cool down space, and he goes and he sits there for a little bit, and he has a great idea of what he's gonna do for his dad. He's gonna paint a picture. So then he starts painting, and he gets really upset again because he spills it, and he's, you know, it doesn't go the way he's expected, and he goes storming off this time to his cool down space. And he goes there, and he sits, and he thinks about the planets, and he calms down, and he's thinking, then he figures out what he's gonna really make for his dad, and he comes back and tells his mother he's gonna make his dad his own cool down space. It's just like, it's such a cute little story. But the language in here is wonderful for explaining about this whole thing, about what we do when we lose it. And it's a great way, you know, for, I think, kids probably 8 down, maybe 9, you know, depending on your children. But it's a good little book, and it's well received by most kids. So that is a reference. I also wanted to mention to you that on the Positive Discipline website, positivediscipline.com, there are some free things on that website. One of them is a newsletter from Jane Nelson. And it comes out periodically, or a blog. Anyway, you can go on there and you can sign up. And she's just gotten her blog going again, where she sends out a tool once a week. And you know, she'll explain how to use it. It's just a little short thing. And then periodically, they'll send out a longer newsletter with bigger concepts. But that's something free that would help you, you know, just, if you just read it, then you could decide if you think that's a good idea or if you think it's not. Just, you know, if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, trash it, you know. But also on that website, there are really, I think, very reasonably priced books and materials. This is a little workbook that Jane made that I think you could work through on your own, and you could really pick up some great parenting tips from this little workbook. If you're more of a reader, I would recommend her original book, Positive Discipline. This is a little bit heavier reading, but it's not overwhelmingly difficult. It just, you know, the print's just smaller. So it's a book, you know, it's a real book. But it is awfully good. And if you went through something like this and then you wanted more, this would be where you should go. Because this is really a good book. And I read this 4 times the first year that I found it. And every time I read it, my kids were in a different place. The kids I was working with at school were different. And I learned something different every time I read it. So it's a really useful, practical book. There's another easy little thing, and I've got 6 of these here tonight. If anybody wants them, I'll sell them to you for $10. It's a deck of 52 cards, the parenting tools, or 52 parenting tools. There are more in the book, but if you wanted something like that, first come, first serve, if anybody wants them tonight. And we did not get to, let's see, we didn't get to routine charts or the wheel of choice, but, and it's 8 o'clock. So we didn't get those things done.
Would you all be interested in having Suzanne come back? Sure. For a part 2? So you would commit to that? All right. Let's do it.
On the list for next year.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. I think just do that, or maybe this summer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe just
next month.
You know, we're staying.
I have not done this, but a lot of the other people that do positive discipline have found that nowadays it's so hard for people to do what you've just done, to come to an hour-and-a-half session after work and you're tired. But what some people are doing is like a 6-hour on Saturday. And, you know, do 3 hours in the morning, everybody brings a bag lunch, you know, we just sit and visit or get outside for a little bit at lunchtime and then do another 3 hours. If you want to do something like that, I would be willing to do something like that with you, or maybe 3 hours one Saturday. And the problem is that Saturdays, I know soccer and all the other things you have to do, but, you know, maybe if you be far enough ahead, or if we did it on a summer day, I don't know.
Yeah, what appeals to you? Would you like to do a long session? If you'd like to do a longer session, the 6-hour, raise your hand. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay. And the rest of you, maybe just another night like tonight, where you can get out. Okay, it seems like that is the thing. So we'll talk to you, and maybe before the end of the school year is out, so that we can practice all this over the summer with our children.
Yeah,
we'll see if we can find a day. I also want to mention to you that Heather Collins, our JK teacher, is here at Palisades, is getting trained. So she will be going to the session. When are you going?
July 11th.
So she's going for, right, 11th and 12th for 2 days to get trained. So we're hoping that she will bring back, well, we know she will, we're not hoping.
Yes,
she will bring back a wealth of information to implement here at PES, but we can also ask her maybe to do some parent sessions as well. So.
And that's an open, that workshop is open to anyone.
Right.
So if there's anyone here who has an interest in, you know, kind of parenting education or something, the purpose of this 2-day workshop is to teach you how to do parent workshops, how to do parenting education. And you don't have to be an authority on parenting education or childhood development or anything like that, because you're just the facilitator. So, I mean, we teach you to be a facilitator for the material. So if you're interested, you've got my email address, drop me a note. It's up there in that little head. Thank you very much.
Thank you.